if you guys want more Sly Cooper, let Sony know.
Herman Hulse, hit him up.
Yeah, but we're ready. We're always ready to dig into that.
Awesome.
And it was a great franchise to work on, and we really miss
I hope you get back to it one day.
Hey everyone, it's Vivi, and welcome back to another Sly Cooper related video. I don't really have good news to share with you guys, but hey, let's get one thing straight out of the way. Sony still owns Sly Cooper. They decide what to do with it. That has never changed. To give you a sigh of relief just a bit, at least I hope, while Sony did not come out and say that Sly Cooper is over, it's not like they said straight up that they're no longer focusing on Sly Cooper. Nothing of such sort. All that got revealed today is that Sly Cooper Time developer Sanzaru Games got acquired by Facebook's Oculus Studios, a complete VR department purchasing Sanzaru Games. Sanzaru Games has been in the VR gaming business since 2016, in fact. Having released 4 VR games, Oculus Studios thought it'd be a great business decision to buy Sanzaru, especially after the release of Asgard's Wrath, a full story, full-fledged VR game that is highly being praised right now. Official word from Sanzaru themselves. We're thrilled to share that Sanzaru is joining the Oculus Studios team. Together, we will continue to pursue a future of rich, immersive, and original VR game content. Excited for what's to come. So, Vivi? Since Sanzaru was the last developer to work on a Sly game, what happens now? Is Sly Cooper cancelled forever or what? Do recall what I said in the beginning. Sony still owns Sly Cooper. This doesn't mean that Sly is cancelled forever. It might seem that way, but we really don't know what Sony is currently planning. Although Matt Kramer, who was lead designer on Sly Cooper Time, had expressed interest with the series going forward when interviewed by Kinda Funny Games. With the recent news of Sanzaru Games getting acquired by Facebook, chances of Sly 5 being made by them, especially now, chances are very slim. No, it doesn't mean that Sly will not ever see the light of day. Little old optimistic me, right? I mean, hey, like I said, Sony didn't outright say Sly Cooper is no more. We don't know what they're planning. What we do know right now, which is highly likely, is that Sony will not pick Sanzaru Games anymore. Heck, that might have been the case this whole time. We haven't seen Sly 5 for years. Sly 4 got released in 2013, clearly due to poor sales. They just didn't greenlight a sequel. The DLC was cut for a reason. Look, some people might say, well, Vivi, Sly 5 didn't happen immediately afterwards, let's say, because Sony was planning a movie. Sure, but then we get news by Sanzaru Games that the DLC was cut. So with that in mind, we believe that, yes, in fact, the sales of Sly 4 wasn't enough to convince Sony to greenlight a sequel. And after so many years had passed, many started believing that Sony just didn't want to deal with Sanzaru anymore. I mean, where is Sony currently? Crash Bandicoot is doing great in the remakes department. The same applies for Spyro. Why is Sony so hesitant? We will never know the answer to that, apart from the old saying, poor sales of Sly 4, at least in Sony's eyes. But all we're hoping for right now is that the sales of rising platformers put some sense into Sony. They want Sanzaru Games to make Sly 5 or remaster the games again, aka an HD port? Well, Sony, it appears you are too late because Sanzaru got bought out by Oculus. There will be an ocean of mixed responses after this news. Some love the idea of Sanzaru no longer touching Sly. Others still have faith in Sanzaru, like me. Why? Because, sure, you might hate Sly 4, but hey, Sanzaru has so much feedback at this point that they could have used that to produce an amazing Sly 5. Regardless, right now, Sanzaru and Sly Cooper 5, it's very slim. By the way, don't forget, the reason the remaster happened on PlayStation 3 and Sly 4, it's thanks to Sanzaru approaching Sony, telling them, hey, we're fans of Sly Cooper. They showed Sony a Sly 4 prototype. Sony was interested, but before working on a sequel, Sony told Sanzaru Games, alright, I'll let you guys work on Sly 4, but first you guys gotta deliver with a remastered collection for PlayStation 3. And so they did. So right now, if Sony wanted to rehire Sanzaru Games, well, it's not likely. They would have to go through Facebook first, because Sony would be having ties with a developer that is now owned by Oculus Studios. According to Mike Verdu, director of content at Oculus, this is something I have to bring up. As part of Oculus Studios and supported by our latest advancements in VR technology, Sanzaru will continue to make amazing VR game experiences for gamers around the world as an independently operated studio. We couldn't be more excited to see what they build next. The word independently might confuse people. Independent, when it comes to developers, it means you develop a game for a certain publisher. The publisher approaches your team and they commission you to work on a game for them. That's what happened with Sonic Boom on handheld. Sly Cooper even. Well, technically Sanzaru were the ones who approached Sony first, but I'm saying Sanzaru developed an IP that is owned by Sony. They got the green light for that. For example, Insomniac Games and Ratchet & Clank. Insomniac Games does not own Ratchet & Clank. They develop Ratchet & Clank for Sony, an IP owned by Sony. And here's the thing about Insomniac Games. They are now owned by Sony. For a very long time, Insomniac Games was an independent developer, not owned by any publisher. And the thing about Insomniac Games and Ratchet & Clank, it really doesn't change a thing that Insomniac Games got acquired by Sony, apart from, let's say, more resources for Insomniac Games. Basically, Sony buying Insomniac Games does not affect the fate of Ratchet & Clank in a bad way. But as for Sanzaru, Verdu explains that the vast majority of Sanzaru employees are moving to Oculus Studios. Information on exact number of employees remains undisclosed. Some employees will remain at Sanzaru. The numbers remain unspecified as well. Now that little number of employees, going by the word independent by Oculus, that will mean that those people remaining at Sanzaru would be free to work on other projects. But as for the vast majority, they're signed under Oculus at this point. Whichever publisher would want that team, that vast majority to work on their game, let's say Sony with Sly Cooper 5, if they wanted that team at Sanzaru working on Sly 5, they'd have to talk to Oculus first, because they now own Sanzaru. Sanzaru in 2010 had said that the team consisted of 60 people. That was 10 years ago. Sanzaru does own 2 studios, their main headquarters in California. They have another satellite studio, known as Kitazaru in Ottawa. There is no word on the VR projects Sanzaru is working on now. But hey, it seems VR is their thing now. They're the ones that ported Secret Agent Clank over on the PlayStation 2, by the way, if you had no idea. There was even Bentley's Hack Pack on multiple consoles, basically an extended version of the mini-games we had in Sly 4 with Bentley. They even helped Toys for Bob work on Spyro 3 for Reignited, due to time constraints most likely. If Sony is planning on giving Sly a chance, it just won't be Sanzaru anymore. They're taken. They're signed off to a different company. No, this does not mean that Sucker Punch will be interested. They might get interested out of the blue, okay? But look, we gotta face the facts. They haven't touched Sly Cooper for over 14 years. That's enough time for the developer not only to expand, but to switch employees. Different people walking in, old people walking out. Back in 2013, there was a history video made by Gameinformer. Brian Fleming, co-founder at Sucker Punch, basically had said that the team was expanding, and with that they sought out bigger opportunities for the team. Ghost of Tsushima currently, that's what they're working on. Brian Fleming met a fan back in 2017, and had said that Sly Cooper is in good hands. This reply was shared over on Sly Cooper Fan Network. This was likely referring to Sanzaru Games. With Sanzaru Games out of the picture, Sony will have to hire another studio, if, of course, Sony ever wants more Sly Cooper. In 2014, the movie was apparently happening. That didn't happen. Fast forward to today, we're waiting on the TV show still. Rumors state that Sony recovered the rights to Sly Cooper. The Sly TV show was originally supposed to be developed by Sonic Boom producers Technicolor. This whole rumor started with me sharing a certain thing on Twitter, a response made by PGS Entertainment. That might explain why there's lack of news on Sly Cooper. It's possible Sony's department, PlayStation Productions, wanting to work on Sly Cooper instead. Basically, Sly Cooper, when it comes to a movie or a TV show, it's been stuck in development hell since 2014. It's like Sony wants to do something with Sly Cooper, but for some reason, it keeps getting stuck. And that could explain why we don't have a new game yet. Because Sony probably thought, hey, let's release the movie first, or the TV show. But whatever the case is, we just hope that Sly remains bright for the future. Sony might as well just consider remakes like Crash and Spyro, minimizing the risk of profit loss. That's the thing. Should Sony even be afraid of Sly 5 not selling? They shouldn't. Sly 5 for PlayStation 5 will sell because nostalgia plays a huge factor nowadays. If Sony is afraid that people are going to get turned off by a sequel out of the blue, with the mindset of people not having played the games prior, well then there's a solution to that. Just release another remaster for PlayStation 4, let's say. But is Sony willing to put that much expense in Sly Cooper? That's the thing. So with that being said, guys, this is it for the video. Tell me what you think in the comments. Are you surprised by this recent news of Sanzaru getting acquired? Are you sad? Are you mad? Do you feel like Sony has given up on Sly Cooper entirely or not? Leave all of your thoughts in the comments section below. And as always, I've been Vivi and thank you so much for watching. And remember, #FreeSly from Egypt.